Which new move India has made that has alarmed Pakistan?
India has cleared the hydropower project on the Chenab. This is a big move that's coming after the Indus Waters Treaty was put on hold.
Has India decided to use water as a leverage to put Pakistan in the right place? And does this mark the beginning of water wars between India and Pakistan? Water treaties are meant to prevent wars. But what if a river becomes a strategic weapon in itself? And that is exactly what happened when India made the Chenab move, which sent shockwaves across Pakistan. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand in the duration where Indus Waters Treaty has been hardened, there is an abeyance to it, how come this new Chenab move is threatening Pakistan and it has sent shockwaves, and also what are the dimensions along it in terms of consequences and what can unfold in coming times. So let us start with understanding that what exactly has happened. So when we talk about, as of now, Chenab River is in news, and it is in news because India has taken some operational steps on the Chenab River, and it has happened especially after India announced Indus Waters Treaty and it has been marked in abeyance. And after this operational step on Chenab, Pakistan has reacted very sharply because it is very closely tied to their water security. So if you look at Chenab, you will see that after the upstream movement, it crosses India and enters Pakistan, where it later goes on to join Indus River. So here Indus River system also comes into highlight, and from the perspective of exam, this whole system is important. There have been direct question in prelims that we have seen. But talking about the dimensions related to it, we also need to understand that this development on Chenab River from India's end is being marked as a strategic weapon, where it is not only going to bring in discussions about climate stress, but also how durable Indus Waters Treaty remains in this time. So this long-term strategic recalibration from India is going to put multiple things in question, but this is a much thought of action that has been taken from India's end. So let us understand more of this in detail, starting with understanding about what exactly is Indus Waters Treaty. So when we talk about Indus River, as you can see in the given map itself, this whole river system is shared by India and Pakistan both. And as the water dispute arose, it was later resolved by Indus Waters Treaty in 1960. And this water treaty was not sorted by India, Pakistan on their own, rather it was brokered by World Bank. And as of now, it is labelled as one of the most durable river treaties that has survived wars, that has survived crisis, but same cannot be said for a longer time. So as per the treaty, river allocation was made, and all the eastern rivers in India, Ravi, Beas and Satluj, were allocated to India, and the western rivers were allocated to Pakistan, which included Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. And this treaty majorly focused on dividing only the rivers. No water quantities were marked. So there was a structural dependence which came out as a result of this treaty, because Pakistan does not have access on the upstream river system which India does. So there was only demarcation and allocation on these rivers. Now as you see, one of the western rivers here is Chenab. Now we can move ahead and understand in detail what happened in terms of the Chenab move and how Indus Waters Treaty is also in a difficult place as of now. So if we talk about Indus Waters Treaty, India has certain rights under Indus Waters Treaty. And these rights clearly highlight the fact that it is not that western rivers, India cannot do anything on it. India can make run of the river hydropower projects, it is allowed. Non-consumptive use is allowed, and limited storage for operational as well as flood control purposes is allowed. And this is exactly what India has done. Furthermore, maintenance, sediment fixing, all of this within technical parameters can allow. So India is not allowed to divert water, but India can regulate the timing, it can regulate the storage, and it is within the treaty text itself. So India is not violating the treaty, India is only fully utilizing what is mentioned in the Indus Water Treaty to its own advantage. Now, based on this text, we will be moving to understand that why Chenab in this situation has become strategically critical. Now, if we talk about Chenab River, it starts in Indian Himalayas where Chandra and Bhaga come together near Baralacha Pass in Himachal Pradesh, and then from there it flows through a little bit into Jammu and Kashmir and it directly enters Pakistan's Punjab. Now, because it runs majority of it through Pakistan, it is backbone of Pakistan's irrigation and food security. Furthermore, it also holds, Chenab also holds certain important projects of India, for example, Salal, Bhagliar and Ratli project as well. In this context, any operational work that is done which might threaten this backbone, which will obviously rattle Pakistan, and this is exactly what happened. Any small change in flow timing automatically affects Pakistan irrigation, that means agriculture is affected, and in hand food security is also directly affected. So India is gradually not only staying in abeyance with Indus Water Treaty, India is making a strategic move to show to Pakistan that how there are multiple strategic weapons at our hand that can be used in this context. Now, when we have understood what makes Chenab so strategically important, let us also address that what exactly is India's major move on Chenab. So, what India has recently done, India has started assertive reservoir filling and also drawdown, which is applicable as per the treaty text, which we have just talked about. Then, it has also worked on faster execution on hydropower timelines, be it the Ratle Dam, be it the Salal. All of these timelines have been fastened up and the operational gate management have been stricken within the Indus Water Treaty rules. As of now, there has been no violation of IWT rules, but it has definitely increased uncertainty for Pakistan, which lies downstream. So India is playing technical, India is playing within the books, and this is one form of hardened act which we can see in diplomacy, which will have strategic consequences for Pakistan. And that is why Pakistan has been so rattled, and we get to understand this because it is directly associated with their hydrological vulnerability, their structural asymmetry and the domestic politics as well. So let us understand how. So when we are talking about hydrological vulnerability, 90% of the agriculture in that country depends on the Indus water system. And when we are talking about one of the most important rivers in that system which are allocated towards Pakistan, we also get to see one of the world's most water stressed countries. That means they are excessively dependent on this basin. Furthermore, given the present time, the climate change has amplified the uncertainty, what can happen, floods, droughts, and in this time, when there is an added uncertainty in terms of flow of Chenab, that makes this further vulnerable. Now, when we are talking about structural asymmetry, the structural asymmetry comes because of the Indus water basin itself, because Pakistan lies downstream, India is upstream. So there is no leverage that Pakistan has in the whole flow. They have limited storage capacity, they are dependent on India, and they need to understand the flow and storage and have the detailed exchange from India so as to know how to work. And they cannot at all influence India infrastructure because India remains within the realms of IWT. Furthermore, Pakistan has for the longest time used water as something that has been framed as existential nationalist issue, and all the military civil narratives portray India move as water weaponization. So this is something that is used in their country in portraying and solidifying the narrative against India. So all in all, when India is actually doing something in the ambit of IWT, Pakistan utilizes this to fuel the fire in their own country and mobilize the crowd against India. And this is not the first time that India and Pakistan are caught up in the water wars, because there has been the Bhaglighar dispute, the Ratle project where Pakistan sought international arbitration, and it shows that Pakistan has always used the legal mechanism in IWT to delay the projects, not to look for resolutions, and that this time India is giving the taste of the same medicine to Pakistan in this very context. Now, obviously, all of this will have strategic and geopolitical consequences, angles involved. Let us try to understand them. If we talk for India, this clearly shows that security concerns clearly affect cooperation. If India did not have any security concerns with Pakistan, India would have been more than happy to cooperate on all the water disputes and look for a resolution. But because the security concerns with Pakistan are so high that we are going to stay away from cooperation as well. Furthermore, it aligns with India's evolving assertive diplomacy, where we will not be selective in terms of cooperation and addressal of security concerns. And it also reinforces how sovereignty exists over our Jammu and Kashmir infrastructure. We are responsible, we look into it, and it is our territory. However, in Pakistan, this becomes not just an issue of food security, but another means through which it can internationalize the issue and also bring third party to involve and pressure India. And then at the international level, we also get to see two sides, one where India is operating within treaty text, and more importantly, the climate change is going to strengthen the case, especially for Pakistan, because the reinterpretation of operational flexibility is present there. We also have economic and environmental dimensions, because when we are talking for India, India not only is doing this for assertive diplomacy, India is working towards their hydropower. We need to bring in renewable energy and increase the number. It is also being done for the economic integration of Jammu and Kashmir, which is very important at this given point of time. And it also facilitates the reduced dependence on fossil fuels. But for Pakistan, if we are looking at economic dimensions, it increases the uncertainty. There will be revenue loss, there will be food inflation, there can be livelihood stress as well. But at the same time, when we are looking apart from the geopolitical dimensions into the environmental factors, we also need to look into glacial retreat, how there are erratic monsoons, and it is important that there should be proper cooperation in terms of storage, in terms of flow, so as to ensure that the climate change is fought together. But this is something very difficult that can be executed between India and Pakistan. So all of this brings us to one question. Is Indus Water Treaty dead? When we talk about abeyance of Indus Water Treaty, it basically means temporary disuse or suspension. So we can assume that the status of Indus Water Treaty is definitely strained, but it is not out. Where in coming times, we will see hardened status quo where there is very limited cooperation, but legal escalation and climate-driven renegotiation are also a possibility, but it seems very unlikely given how there are heightened security concerns from the end of Pakistan. So the scenario hardened status quo where there will be continuance of the treaty but with minimal cooperation seems like a likely option. Now on this note, I will be concluding today's discussion. Because when we talk about this India's Chenab move, it is a strategic, legal and deliberate move. This is showing that Pakistan is dependent and vulnerable, and there are many dimensions related to it that makes it a classic case study that you can use to talk about assertive diplomacy, that you can use to talk about cooperation, treaty stress and climate change as well. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much.